Alright guys, welcome back to another Ghillie crafting tutorial. In today's tutorial, we're going to be turning these little Amazon mesh masks made by One Tigris into a mesh mask that is fully concealed, like you see here. So these are the two mesh masks side by side. Now before we do, this mesh mask here looks kind of a little different from the normal olive that you see on the back strap here. I actually did hit it with some spray paint. I'm going to show you guys how to kind of dull the colors down a little bit, just so you don't get any glossy looking texture on the mesh mask. And then this will allow us to then go in and add all of our crafting material to the mesh mask. Alright guys, so step number one, I'm going to be using two different types of spray paint. It's by a company called Krylon. One is a dark brown, flat brown, and then another is a flat olive army green. So again, I'll leave links to these in the description down below, but this is basically how I spray paint masks and kind of just flatten them a little bit. Like, as you can see, I mean, the light's kind of bright on the mask, but you can see that the mask is a little shiny. Like, I'm getting a little bit of shine when there is light hitting it, and we want to honestly just neutralize the tones of the kind of glossy finish on all of the padding here. So we're gonna first just kind of hit it with the brown spray paint. Just gonna cover the whole thing in brown. So now that we've kind of like softened this up a little bit, what I'm gonna do is actually create kind of macro patterns. So I want to create like darker random little patterns throughout the whole mask. So I'm going to go in the corner here and we're going to hit it like that. Then we're going to go right across that, maybe on the bottom here, and a little bit on the top. That's good. Maybe on the very top there. Yeah, cool. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of green. Let's go on the bottom and on the side. Went a little too much there. It's okay though. I can combat that with a little bit of brown. Just dull it back down a bit. That should be good. As you can see here, I pre-cut all of my AGM, so I have a bunch of the different colors. There's 3 different colors in the pack. I have some darks, I have some mixed darks with mediums, as well as the lightest green. I also have a pre-crafted leaf here using some AGM and a custom green maple leaf with some pre-combed raffia, and this is actually courtesy of GhillieUp.com. GhillieUp.com is a new Canadian retailer where you can buy all of your concealment items such as AGM. You can buy pre-crafted leaves. This is the pre-crafted raffia from GhillieUp, and these are also their custom leaves that they make. So you can actually purchase now really high quality Ghillie crafting materials right in Canada. If you're a Canadian Airsofter, you know how expensive it is to be importing this stuff. It costs a lot in duties, shipping, and conversion rates, you know, in the States as well as in Europe are pretty damn high. So shout out to GhillieUp.com for finally offering affordable Ghillie crafting materials for us airsoft snipers and just Ghillie crafters here in Canada. So let's get into custom concealing. So here's some of the material. So we went over the AGM. Of course, you're going to need your mesh mask. If you guys are looking to purchase the exact same mesh mask from One Tigris, I'm going to leave an Amazon Prime link in the description down below. So you can click on that. I believe these go for like $15 to $20 Canadian. They're super cheap. This is the exact same mask that I actually use on my own suit that I personally use. I absolutely love them. So the raffia here that I have right in front of me, this is the KMCS Summer Crafting pre-combed raffia right here. I absolutely love this raffia, but GhillieUp.com sent me some of their custom raffia. So we have this like prairie green here, and then we have more of like a straw neutral color. So we're gonna actually play around with these two. Now when you are crafting these mesh masks, this tool right here is going to be your absolute best friend. Now, I will leave a link for these in the description as well. These are called an awl, A-W-L. I bought a pack of 4 of these from Amazon Prime for like $8. So again, I'll leave the exact same link in the description down below. arrived at my house in like 2 days. And a lot of ghillie crafters will call these ghillie shanks, but essentially what it lets you do is you can poke holes inside of the mask, and then you can rip this out and apply your cable tie inside of the mask. So you can use these on mesh masks, you can use these on chest rigs, gloves, anything that isn't an actual ghillie suit, where you can just easily poke holes through little holes all around the suit. One other thing I didn't mention, and I believe Ghillie Up is actually working on some prototypes of cottons, but I'm going to be adding some CAMCS and Silly Ghillie cottons to the mask as well. So I just have the lighter and the darker ones here. I'm going to set these aside. I'm only going to use a few, and then I have some Jack Pike tape. This is totally optional. You can purchase this from Skirm Shop. That's like the most easily accessible place I could find it. It's just camo tape that I really enjoy using, and we're going to get to this a little later on. So I'm literally going to go through this mesh mask with my awl, and I'm going to be poking holes and then poking cable ties, little 2.5mm brown cable ties here throughout the entire mask, and pretty much just prep the mask to apply all of my crafting material. So we're going to do that right now. Alright guys, so now we have all the cable ties poked all over the place. As you can probably see here, there are much more cable ties on, this would be the left side of the person who's wearing the mask's face. So I put more on the left side because, you know, most people are right-handed. So I want to kind of keep this right side a little more open so that when people rest their cheek or the mesh mask on the stock of a rifle or looking down like a scope or something, there isn't too much obstruction of crafting material getting in the way. Now, this is okay, and the reason for it is because we want to create very unnatural looking patterns. So when we bulk up one side of the mask here, and there's just material all over the place here, but then it slowly trickles down to less and less material, that totally changes the look of the face, and that's what we want. And that's ultimately how ghillie suits or custom concealment actually works, is you're really trying to disrupt the shape of the human head and the shoulders. Those are the two most important things, and the face does matter a lot too. You know, I see a lot of guys wearing ghillie suits, they'll put a hood up, but they're not wearing like a mesh mask or a balaclava, and their whole face almost gives away, you know, their position, because, you know, people can actually see the person's face. But when you're wearing a mesh mask or a balaclava, this totally disrupts your whole face. And especially when you do craft your goggles, that's the point where, you know, you really take it up a notch in ghillie crafting, and how you conceal that whole front facing of your mask and your goggles. My whole technique for crafting is I take my 3 pieces of AGM that I pre-cut, I pinch right in the middle here, I make a little bow, I twist once, and then I apply my AGM. So we're going to apply it here. I'm going to leave it a little loose, and I'm just going to pull apart the AGM into all directions. This is the technique that Silly Ghillie actually mentions that you should do, and then fully tighten the cable tie there. So basically covers a little more surface area there when we actually flour everything out and we pull it apart, and then fully tighten the cable tie. So we're going to literally do this technique for pretty much every cable tie on this side of things. And I think these 2 bottom cable ties, or maybe these 3 bottom cable ties, so 1 in the middle of the mesh mask and these 2 on the bottom of the padding here, I'm going to actually use cottons, and that basically helps break up just using one crafting technique. Like as you can see on this mesh mask, you know, I have a whole bunch of AGM here, but then I break it apart with cottons, and then I go back into 1 piece of AGM, another random cotton here, some raffia, and then I go back into AGM on the other side. So this totally disrupts, you know, the whole shape of everything, right? So that's what we're going to do with this mesh mask here. Now, if you guys are looking to actually purchase pre-crafted mesh masks, I'm actually selling this mesh mask that you're seeing here. I'm sending it off to GhillieUp.com. They are also the owners of One Shot Airsoft, and they're going to be carrying my pre-crafted items. I'm going to have chest rigs. I also have pre-crafted gloves here that I'm going to be selling, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But if you guys are looking for high-quality pre-crafted items, such as chest rigs, mesh masks, gloves, and goggles, make sure to go check out GhillieUp.com for all your Canadian ghillie crafting needs. Now, some of you might be asking, you know, when do I add in raffia? what I like to do on mesh masks is every third cable tie, add a little bit of raffia to it, and then tie it down with AGM. So we're going to add a couple more pieces of AGM here before we actually add any raffia. Alright guys, so I'm taking some of this Raffia by Ghillie up, and so this is the green one, and I'm going to attach it here. Basically what I like to do is fold the Raffia over my finger to create a little loop like this. I take the loop and I loop it inside, so now you can see the loop on the one side of the cable tie and the strands on the one side. I take the strands and I just put it through the loop, and then I pull the loop down. And that securely fastens the raffia to the cable tie. Just tighten that up. Now we're going to tighten down this cable tie. Make sure that there's no AGM obstructing the raffia. Now what I'm going to do is just split this raffia up, as this is not pre-combed, but that's fine because splitting raffia is very simple. So actually, to give you guys a really good idea of the power of what cottons can actually do on your mesh mask, is I'm actually going to leave some cable ties where I plan to put cottons just empty. I'm going to continue putting the AGM throughout the entire mask, show you what it looks like with the AGM, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like when I add cottons to it. So we're going to continue adding some AGM here. So I haven't added the cottons, but we're going to go ahead and add some cottons now. So as you can see, I left some cable ties just in random little areas all around here, just to break apart you know, the AGM from the cottons, because I want there to be noticeable separation, because it just looks like messier, and messier is always better when ghillie crafting. So another thing too here guys, with the cottons, you can either use one cotton if you really want. I like to use two cottons, fold them together like so, and then apply them. So I'm going to apply one of them just to show you guys what this folding method kind of looks like. Not going to tighten it all the way, and we're going to split this cotton up like so. Fully tighten that, and there we have a cotton applied right there. Alright guys, so another little technique actually that I saw actually on one of Kicking Mustang's tutorials when he was doing just like some sort of live crafting, is he actually takes his cottons, puts them in his mouth, and then he applies them onto his suit or whatever he's crafting, and basically that instantly gives them a more like realistic or weathered look. So I'm gonna try it out actually for the first time right now. So here we go. Just took them out of my mouth. Tastes like nothing, thank God. So now oh, this actually looks much better. Much better. Way more realistic. That is a really great tip. Shout out to Kicking Mustang. I should have done that for all of these, honestly. That looks way better. Alright, sick. Alright, so now we have all the crafting work done here. I'm going to go through all the raffia and just split it. So what I like to do with raffia is I will literally, obviously, split it up first. And then once I split up all the raffia, I like to bunch it all together, all of the split raffia that I literally just split up. And I'm just going to crumple it around with my fingers and then comb. Much more natural, looks much more weathered. So we're going to do that for all the raffia that we have sticking out here. Now it's okay to leave some strands of the raffia just kind of like bigger or bulkier, like you don't have to pre-comb everything out, just because like leaving some bigger strands of raffia is almost good, because it almost looks like a twig of some sort. So that's why I don't actually go ahead and split every single piece of raffia. I just like to do like every third or fourth, I'll split up and pre-comb, and then I'll just bunch it together and do something like this. The raffia by Ghillie up, like once I've actually split it, it looks really good. I personally like this neutral straw. A lot of people don't like this neutral color. It's good to like dye yourself if you want to, but in my opinion, like where we live in Canada, in the prairies, I think that it actually blends really well, because we do get this color on twigs and tall grass and whatnot. So all ghillie crafting material will perform differently. Ghillie suits will perform differently depending on what environment you actually play at, right? The way that you craft your ghillie suit will perform differently depending on the environment that you're actually playing in. So that is something to keep in mind. A lot of people think that, you know, they're going to turn into ghillie sniping gods when they purchase the AGM kit, but honestly it does come down to how you actually create your macro patterns. You're not just piling material all over your suit or your mesh mask. Just for fun, we're going to attach this pre-made leaf by Ghillie Up. So again, if you guys want to purchase these leaves, you can buy them from Ghillie Up. See, there's an amber one in there as well. We're going to apply one here. I'm going to show you how to do it. So basically, I'm going to put one just right dead on the bottom here. So I'm going to poke it through. All right, like this. Pull it all the way through the mesh. So I'm literally pulling it through the mesh. And oh my god, that looks so good. Okay, so I'm like overly stoked. Should I be overly stoked? I don't know. But either way, this is looking really fire. Alright, so now I'm going to basically secure this leaf that I just put through one of the holes of the mesh mask, like the actual metal mesh. And I'm securing it down with a cable tie on the back. And I'm just going to snip the ends of these cable ties off. Okay, so now I'm just going to go through, guys, and I'm just going to snip away at all the cable ties. A little tip for this is when you have the cable ties that you want to snip, I just take my scissors from the top, scooch them all the way down, and then I clip. So you don't cut any raffia or AGM material or mesh material. So I'm going to go through, I'm just going to snip all these cable tie ends off, and then we have one more step to complete to finish up this mesh mask. Alright guys, so this is kind of like a final look here of this mesh mask pre-crafted. Now, there are a few little things that we can do to kind of finish this up. This is totally like preference at this point, but basically when you are crafting goggles or mesh masks, it's really important to get rid of like harsh edges, because that's what people notice on the field, like enemy players on the airsoft field. So here we do have some harsh edges like on the nose. So what you can do to combat that is, again, I'm going to talk about this jack pike tape. I'm just going to take my jack pike tape. I'm going to cut a few small strips off like this. And I'm actually going to apply it onto the nose area. So the important thing when you are applying this jack pike tape to your mesh mask is I'm going to toss some on there, but then I'm going to purposely kind of make it like super messy and like all over the place. And this is just to disrupt that nose shape a little bit. What I'll also do is just slightly go over top of the nose, over top of the actual mesh itself. Again, making it purposely like very messy, just to disrupt that nose shape, because that could give away your position if somebody's like a few feet away from you and you're in a ghillie suit and you're just, you know, trying to stay undetected. We're going to toss one more on here. That is pretty much it. So this is a pre-crafted mask. Now let's just like quickly look at this for a second and just go over what's going on. So as you can see on this side, I used some light green AGM on the top here. Then I kind of went into darker on the bottom. And then we go into the cottons in this area. And then we go into a pre-crafted leaf from GhillieUp.com, which has a piece of AGM on there, as well as some raffia on the bottom. Then we go into some raffia and another cotton. We kind of come back up to more AGM across this strip right here. But then across the bottom strip, again, I'm following another pattern of cottons. And then we finish it off with AGM around the sides, just to cover some surface area where we see those harsh outlines of the actual mesh mask itself. Again, we want to cover surface areas so we don't see that. And this is what a pre-crafted mask, in my opinion, should look like. This is really effective. Like, I use this exact same technique in all of my airsoft gameplay videos that you guys see. And, you know, there's people that will run past me from, you know, I'm not kidding, 5 feet away, because my entire suit is literally just crafted exactly like this, just creating these odd shaped macro patterns, bulking up one side and leaving the other side a little more bare, but maybe, you know, switching it up and adding some raffia. This looks very, very unnatural, and I'm going to put this on to show you guys how unnatural this actually looks on a human face. Alright guys, so I'm going to toss on this pre-crafted mesh mask here by One Tigris. So as you can see, boom, like look at how disrupted my whole silhouette is looking on my face area. And by the way, yes, I'm wearing pre-crafted gloves. These are brand new gloves, tactical airsoft gloves that I actually pre-crafted myself using AGM. And if you guys are looking to purchase this, I'm selling pre-crafted gear on GhillieUp.com. If you're a Canadian ghillie crafter or looking to get into ghillie crafting and you do live in Canada or in the US, this is probably the cheapest way for you to actually get into ghillie crafting, is purchasing from a shop that is finally carrying pre-crafted items as well as ghillie crafting material within North America. That is absolutely huge. So I'm going to actually remove this mask right here, and I'm going to toss on my Smith Optics turbofan goggles. So this has a mesh mask attached to the bottom, and as you can see, like, once you have the goggles on as well as a pre-crafted mesh mask, everything just flows really, really seamlessly. And that's kind of what we're after here, is just totally disrupting that shape of the face. So with all that being said, guys, thank you everybody for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to comment down below and let me know. With all that being said, I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.